China struggles to convince Li mourners of reason for death. Some find official line hard to believe after shock news. Health conditions of top leaders are a state secret in China. A number of mourners in eastern Anhui province this week expressed doubt that the former number 2 official died of a heart attack, the reason given in a government statement Friday. Li found himself sidelined by President Xi Jinping before exiting the Politburo Standing Committee, China's most powerful body, a year ago despite being young enough to stay on. A number of mourners in eastern Anhui province this week expressed doubt that the former number 2 official died of a heart attack, the reason given in a government statement Friday. Li found himself sidelined by President Xi Jinping before exiting the Politburo Standing Committee, China's most powerful body, a year ago despite being young enough to stay on. While the health details of senior leaders are always treated as a state secret in China, no evidence has emerged to undermine the Communist Party's account of Li's death at age 68. The Politburo praised the former premier as a time-tested and loyal communist soldier in a statement last week, suggesting he hadn't fallen from favor. At around 9 a.m., Xi, his wife Pang Liyuan, Premier Li Chang and the other members of the Politburo Standing Committee attended Li's cremation, according to the official Xinhua News. They shook hands with Li's family members, offering their condolences, the report added. Travel was tightly controlled in Beijing on Thursday morning, with some public transport hubs near the cremation site at Babaishan in the western suburbs temporarily halting operations. Li's death comes as a series of unexplained oustings in China's leadership create a heightened sense of mystery around the party. She has fired 2 top ministers, as well as senior generals overseeing the nation's nuclear arsenal, without explanation in recent months. Former leader Hu Jintao, who she also diminished after his tenure, was abruptly escorted offstage during last year's leadership congress, sparking intense speculation about his status even though he appeared to be frail. The Chinese government's opaqueness in recent years has instilled a sense of distrust among people, said Yaqiu Wang, research director for China, Hong Kong and Taiwan at Freedom House. Many people die from sudden heart attacks every year around the world. It is not an unusual thing, she added. It's ironic that despite the Chinese government's projected omnipotent power, it can't make people believe what it says. As people laid flowers on the street near Li's ancestral home, one noodle shop owner told a customer it was hard to believe the official line, and said authorities should give more details. 5 men gathered on the roadside nearby said they hoped Western media would find out what really happened. One cab driver said he assumed high-ranking officials should have the best medical care. There's been a lot of talk about the cause of Li's death, said one woman outside his childhood home, echoing several others whom Bloomberg spoke with Wednesday and who asked to speak anonymously out of fear of government reprisals. But it's not good for me to talk about that, she added. The Communist Party announced Li's death with unusual speed, posting a statement 8 hours after his passing before an official obituary was ready to publish. When that tribute to Li finally came, it mentioned Xi by name 5 times, making it clear where the focus should remain during the mourning period. Li's death was the 3rd item on state broadcaster China Central Television's evening news bulletin Friday, behind stories about a Politburo meeting and Premier Li Chang's recent overseas trip. The People's Daily on Saturday dedicated half of its front page to Li's obituary, and carried a black and white photograph of the trained economist, setting a protocol for other editors. But as grief rippled across the nation, at least 3 newspapers, including the Beijing Evening News, went beyond the treatment of the Communist Party's top mouthpiece. One publication ran a large image of chrysanthemums, a symbol of mourning in China, at an unrelated flower show next to reports of Li's passing. The Southern Metropolis Daily, known for its relatively liberal stance, carried an image of a tree on its front page, alongside news of Li's death. Chinese social media users linked that image to the song "What a Magnificent Tree," which is associated with Hu Yaobang, the ousted party official whose death in 1989 led to protests in Tiananmen Square. The public sentiment needs a way to release, said one user of Chinese microblogging platform Weibo, commenting on photographs of flowers heaped in front of Li's old house. It is the spontaneous action of the people that shows where people's hearts really lie, wrote another. Other users expressed shock at Li's death at a relatively young age for a party official. The government's account didn't offer background on Li's condition or details on the circumstances of his passing, other than saying he died in Shanghai after all efforts to save his life failed. In that information vacuum, some shared unsubstantiated claims Li had been swimming when his heart failed, while others pointed to dark circles under his eyes as evidence of prior ill health. Tolerated grief. Rigid protocols govern the funerals of Chinese leaders, meaning Li will likely not enjoy the type of memorial conducted for former President Jiang Zemin at the Great Hall of People in December. China said in a brief notice Tuesday that Li would be cremated 2 days later with official flags flying half-staff, without elaborating. In Li's hometown, some questioned why Beijing hadn't formed a memorial committee or released condolence letters from other nations, both things it had done for Jiang. Li Peng, the former Chinese premier who oversaw the bloody crushing of students' protests in 1989, was given a brief farewell ceremony attended by Xi and other officials before cremation after he died in 2019. No memorial committee was announced, nor were messages from foreign leaders shared. So far, Li's treatment is consistent with that of other premiers. But with Jiang's funeral still in recent memory, she now faces the delicate task of handling the popular former premier's death without sparking anger that could become a rallying point for discontent over China's slowing economy. In Hefei, the capital city of Anhui, dozens of Communist Party volunteers wearing blue vests on Wednesday patrolled the crowds still forming to pay tribute outside Li's childhood home. I think people liked him because he is a decent official and he used language that can be understood by ordinary people, unlike some other officials, said Shin, a retired schoolteacher. Similar memorial spots appeared in Jiaozi, Li's ancestral home about 1 hour from Hefei, as well as Hunan province, where he once worked. The tributes, at times, carried a tinge of nostalgia for an era of greater political diversity in China, where a relatively liberal thinker with no personal ties to Xi could rise to the near top. There is no neat way to separate out the degree to which the commemorating is out of respect or appreciation of Li's behavior, versus being about taking an opportunity to make points about Xi, said Jeff Wasserstrom, a chancellor's professor of history at the University of California, Irvine. It is bound to be a mix.